Good afternoon. This is I1 Studio Podcast Show, episode number 15. I am Calix, your humble host. Today, we interview Bridget Lawler. She is the owner of a boutique business consultant agency who works closely with startup and entrepreneurs all over the world. Our office is located in Switzerland. However, our office can travel to your location if necessary. Bridget has laid down the reasons why her corporation is placed to amplify your business to the next level. In addition, she also established herself as a leader in this professional service. There are 2 episodes from her many great advice given, since it was too long for just one. Bridget, it's morning on your end, right?
It is early evening on my end.
Oh, well, it is presently 12 noon in New York City.
Right. Hello, New York City.
And you're in Switzerland?
I am in Switzerland, yes. I am very close to the city of Geneva in Switzerland.
I remember in my young age, I used to be fascinated about Geneva and Switzerland because they were part of my history lesson.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually had forgotten the story, but my mother reminded me about it because I'm not from Switzerland. I'm from South Africa originally, and life brought me to Switzerland. And one day, my mom reminded me and said, "Do you remember when you were a little girl? You loved reading Heidi, and you always said, one day I want to live in Switzerland and be like Heidi." I'd forgotten that, but life brought me here anyway. My life is not like Heidi, but I am enjoying being in Switzerland.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting story.
Yes.
First of all, let us break the ice. Tell us a little about yourself.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, I'm South African. I have traveled and lived in a few different places in the world, and life brought me to Switzerland through my career, actually. My corporate career brought me to Switzerland. So I've been living here for about 6 years. Let's see, what would you like to know about me? Anything in particular?
Yes. What exactly are you passionate about in your life?
Oh, wow. Well, if I leave the business side, a topic to the side for right now, I think there's a couple of things. One thing I'm absolutely passionate about is food. So I love everything there is about food. I really enjoy being in the kitchen. I love being creative in cooking and, creating some really great fusion types of dishes. I draw on a lot of the places that I've been, different tastes and blend influences from different places and create some of my own dishes in the kitchen. So that's one thing. I love creating food. I love eating it as well. So that's a little bit of a problem. But besides that, I think anybody who knows that one thing I'm really passionate about is my animals. So I have 2 dogs. They are beagles, so they're a bit like Snoopy. And usually you'll find them very close to me most of the time. Right now, I think they're the only people that are happy with this COVID situation because it means that they get to have time all the time and go for even longer walks than usual. So that's something I'm passionate about, is spending time with my dogs, spending time in the countryside, and Switzerland is one for being out about in nature and exploring. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Nice. So you mentioned that you're owner of a boutique business consultant agency.
Yes, that's right.
And besides that, you have experience starting a business. So can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So I left my corporate job about 2 years ago. And I left because I decided I wanted to start my own business. And at the time, I wasn't really sure what the subject of my business was going to be, but I took the leap of faith to say, okay, I want to go out and create something of my own. What I ended up creating is a consulting company, and basically we work with other businesses on growing their business to the next level. So we work with our clients who are either early entrepreneurs or, businesses that are starting up, and we really coach and mentor those business owners to grow their business, navigating through the challenges, learning how to set things up, learning how to go beyond what is immediately in front of you. And we also do consulting with some larger companies, some longer-term projects of really developing different aspects of the business and quite a bit of business transformation as well. So that's what we work with. But it's been an interesting role because on the one hand, a lot of my clients are people who are developing their own business, and it's a journey that I've personally experienced. So, it's an interesting one, and if you've ever started a business, you probably have a smile on your face right now when I say that, because even though you can read about what it's like, I think there is a certain experience that you have to live through to really feel it. The ups and downs of starting a business are fantastic. It's a roller coaster. You've got some amazing high points, and you have some very, very low points sometimes. And half the time you think you're crazy, and half the time you think you're invincible. So it's a very interesting journey. There's always a lot to learn. And what I particularly like about working with our clients in the early stages of their business is that very often when somebody starts out, they're focused on one aspect of the business. And the founder is usually focused on whatever the product or service is, especially if it's a company that's involved in, let's say, technology, or there's an invention. It's very product focused. And yet when you grow a business, you need to have an idea of how to commercialize that idea. So there's usually a part of the puzzle that the founder, there are other parts of the puzzle come in, and we partner with them and we help them to grow.
That's a great idea. I think you're doing a very good job as a consultant.
Well, thank you very much. And it certainly helps having been in those same shoes and not that long ago. And, life is a learning journey, and there's still things that we learn about as we grow our own business. And all experiences are something that are lessons for somebody else. So it's a very interesting space again.
Interesting. Okay, so that is the reason why you work with many startups and entrepreneurs.
Yes, we do work with startups and entrepreneurs, and then also with let's say, more mature companies as well.
Great. When did you start your business? This question.
It's just under 2 years old.
2 years. And do you mind telling us if you have what's about the revenue aspect?
Well, what I will tell you about the business is that it has lots of ups and downs, and I think that if you ask me this question today versus if you'd asked me this question maybe 2 or 3 months ago, you may have gotten very different answers. Given the COVID situation, I think the world has turned on its head, and I think the business reality for many companies, if not all businesses, has changed in some way or the other. Now, it's not all bad news. Some businesses, of course, are doing quite well because COVID situation has brought them some opportunities and actually grown their market. Or if you think about businesses who are, for example, if you were selling face masks, imagine that your business could be booming right now, selling hand sanitizer or toilet paper. And, other businesses, of course, have not had that, and a lot of businesses are struggling. A lot of businesses are actually don't even know yet what the reality is going to be. And so they're in this kind of like limbo waiting. So our side, our business has been focused on 2 main areas. One is consulting, and the other side is events. We have been running some international events. Of course, so on the event space, all of that activity has. Our consulting projects have also taken an interesting turn because some things that required like physical activity and international have had to either be put on hold or replanned. And otherwise, I guess, there's a lot of reprioritization happening in the world right now. A project that was a priority for them 2 months ago might not be a priority today. So there's a lot of disruption happening, and there's a lot of topsy-turvy kind of stuff happening. So how our business is doing, I won't say that it's easy. We've had to readjust. We've had to pivot. We've had to step back and say, okay, are there different ways that we can do things? Are there ways that we can reach out to our clients? Are there ways that we can serve people in a way that didn't before or they need now? There's a lot of reinvention happening outside in the business, and at the same time, we're also reaching out to people in the network and taking the opportunity to say, how is it going with you? what do you need? What can we do for you? So we are also offering, to some extent, because we know that businesses at the moment, everybody needs to be their cash right now. It's not a time that, people are able to even part with money unless, there's a particular need for it. So we're quite sensitive to that as well. And for that reason, we're happy to extend a helping hand where we can. And, perhaps have a few conversations with people that maybe will help them to shed some light on the situation, maybe help them take a step forward or maybe just, help them to make some tough decisions and support them in a time of need. So there's quite a lot that's going on right now, but I wouldn't say it's of how the business has been growing. And as far as the outlook is concerned, let's see. I think as the world turns, we all have to have a certain flexibility of what the new normal is going to look like.
Right. I agree. I would like to know of how do you make good money? What do you charge?
Well, there's a range of solutions. I mean, I wouldn't be able to share a list with you if that's what you're asking, but what I would say is that moved away from, let's say, the model that some consulting firms have traditionally had where you charge on like a per hour or a per day rate. And what we focus on more is looking at what we call value-based pricing. So, of course, we have certain ranges that we know would be appropriate for a market, but also what we charge depends on what problem the client needs to have solved, depends on what we can do in order to solve that problem, before we will have a value-based fee. So that's on how much time we look at, what is it going to bring. We have, let's say, a packaged type of fee, but other times what we do is we may have a set fee problem that will result in a certain growth that we expect, then we're willing to put our skin in the game as well and say that our fee can be a percentage of the result that the client would achieve. So we've got quite a flexible pricing structure, and it really depends on the clients themselves, what the situation is and what the problem would be to be solved.
That's very nice, Bridget. The way you actually work the funding part, it probably might be able to help any business who struggles or either making money. They would like to pay you more. Those who are making money and those who struggle can work out some kind of scenarios based on the two packages that you carry.
Yes, possibly. I mean, at the end of the day, we are a business ourselves and we need to pay the bills, so that we have to be practical in how we do that. Quite often what we may do with let's say a typical, let's say smaller or medium-sized business is that we would say, okay, what we can do is we have let's say a smaller fee, which is a upfront that you would pay in an early stage. From that, things, and then if you want us, so that's like you will already have an amazing note from that, and you will already have a great value from that, and there'd be a certain fee for that, but with the understanding that there would be, but most likely be a second phase, and in the second phase we could perhaps go on like a success-based. It means that usually not a major commitment, but one thing is that, and I find this in my experience, I know that many other people in business as well, is that as much as you would think from a human perspective that if something is given to you free, that you appreciate it more, but very often what happens is if you receive something free, you value it. So there is a certain logic to having a client also investing in working with you or with us, because when they're invested with finances, they're also invested in the result. You'd be surprised how many times people, because at the end of the day, a business is made up of people, you'd be surprised at how many times people have very good intentions and they have goals they would like to reach. But, the thing about sometimes when the people feel that it's invested in it, they easily step out and don't see it all the way to the end. So we are very flexible in our pricing model, but it's really important that we also have commitment from our clients, and that commitment can take different forms. Because at the end of the day, energy and our resources is something that doesn't go anywhere either. We are just as keen to get the results as our clients are.
Understood. Bridget, what's coming in the future? What's in your horizon?
I think that's an interesting question for anybody these days because the world has become completely unpredictable. I think that, conversation aside, I won't focus too much on that right now, but I think the reality is that what recent events have taught us is the need to be a lot more flexible in how we can deliver services and how we can bring value to our clients. So for us, what's next is we have gone back to G's on some of our products. We are building and developing different ways, things that are more online, things that are more mobile. So whether we can meet in person or whether you can travel to meet a client or whether you cannot, to avoid business disruption in the future. I think the world has taught us that we need to be a lot more agile in that sense, and so we're building more of that into our business for sure. And I think what it's taught us as well is not to assume that the way we do things is the way things will always happen. And it's interesting because it's advice I've given to clients. It's usually part of a keynote speech that I would deliver. But now we're all facing the reality, and we've really learned that lesson the hard way, is that the way things have in the past should not necessarily be the way that you assume they will in the future. So always be on your toes, always be open to reinventing and to innovation.
Great answer. I like it. What is the most common reason people fail in business?
The most common reason people fail? Well, probably the most common reason is that businesses run out of funding. So cash flow is usually wins business. I can certainly testify to having learned the hard way that you need to make sure you have a reasonable cash flow. You need to be able to build a very large enterprise behind you. So cash flow and funding is usually one of the killers of business. I think the other is that I would say it's about the strategy, and maybe I'd spoken about it a little bit earlier, which is to say that having a great idea for a product or a service is not the same as having a great business. So even if you design and develop the most amazing product, the most amazing invention, whatever that might be, if you can do something that nobody else can do, that's wonderful. But to be able to commercialize it is a completely different thing altogether. And so I think that there are many businesses that probably the world died before they really came to life. So to be able to commercialize something, to be able to grow a business structure around that, whatever that business structure might look like, because there are many different ways that it could look, to be able to tell a compelling story, in other words, to get the market interested and to be able to sell your product, is a completely different ballgame to coming up with what your product is in the first place. So I think that many great ideas and great inventions died before they became great business. And that's what we would like to be able to have, those great ideas become great businesses.
Excellent.
There you have it. This is part one of this. This is part one of this great advice from Bridget. If you are looking for consultancy or mentorship, reach out to me via ibonstudio.org to request your coupon code. Ibon Studio will guarantee a half-hour free consultation for you on behalf of the listeners of this episode. Enjoy Bridget's lawyer description in how to expand your business and make it grow. Keep on doing what you do. Thank you.